Hi, my name's Jeff. We're going to look at Wurm 40 right now. Just a little quick background if this is your first video viewing. I received my master's in music degree from Central Michigan University and my bachelor's in music degree from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I've played with a bunch of different orchestras and subbed in with like the Midland Odessa Symphony, as well as some rock bands, and I just love trumpet. I was an All-Stater in 2006, way back in the day, and I hope to help you on your Texas All-State music this year. Jumping into Wurm 40, I want to talk about some big musical concepts that I see right off the bat. And I think for most of us as trumpet players, we look at this and we see that E to B flat jump happens a few times throughout this piece. And that's definitely a technique we're going to work on through some of the videos in this course. As well as just learning about accents, fanfare versus legato playing. I see a lot of slurs. If we're looking at a big musical concept, I see the phrases as 8-bar phrases. The other big musical concept that I see that this excerpt is going to work on is our subdivision, our triplet subdivision versus our 16th note subdivision. Look at measure 3. You have eighth notes that go straight into a triplet that has a dotted 8th, 16th note. And that rhythm's a little bit tricky for most of us. Most of us try to tripletize that rhythm in particular. So as we are working on this excerpt, we're going to do some drills to really make for sure our triplet is not at all close to the dotted 8th, 16th. We have those separate and they sound very distinct throughout the whole piece. If you look at the ending of this piece, you will notice a pattern. It looks almost exactly like the beginning. The main difference that I see is the antithesis beat, or the pickup beat, is on the 16th note of beat 4 rather than beat 4 itself. That also happens in measure 8. So those are the exact same. The end of the piece looks like a scale in thirds. So you have B flat, G, C, A. So we'll work on our scale in thirds throughout this course. And the octave at the end can be a bit tricky to navigate as you play. The main idea, I think, broad speaking, is it's an ABA form. You have this main theme that comes back at the end with a modification, so ABA prime. And the B section, I would say, is this piano section, and starting in measure 15. You have a grace note, piano, 16th note section that's a little bit different from everything else. The main idea here is you want to make for sure you mark all your triplets. If the notes are grouped in threes, they need to be marked as triplets. Measure 10, measure 12, measure 20. Those are all the triplets that I see that aren't marked, that need to be marked in your part. Aside from that, be as expressive as you possibly can be. The tempo is not super fast. You want to make it stately. You want to make for sure that you're doing the music justice. I see very fanfare trumpet at the beginning, and the B section I see is this delicate, light legato trumpet playing. And I want to make for sure, if I were auditioning, that I would highlight those two aspects of trumpet playing, the fanfare versus legato playing throughout this excerpt. Aside from that, this piece looks very straightforward, minus there's one other spot that really could catch us if we don't pay very close attention to what we're doing, and that's in measure 28. You have subdivided notes, so you're playing on all the tays, and we want to make for sure they're exactly on the offbeat, and they're accented, so we can really bring that out. And I would say that the downbeat of 30 should be the climax of the piece. I know the piece starts forte and 30 says forte, but if I'm interpreting this, that's my climax of this particular excerpt, and what I'm aiming for when I play this piece. And the trill in measure 3, and then it repeats in measure 35. That's going to be a little tricky to navigate, and we'll talk a bit more about it. But the main overall idea of the trill is to see how many trills you can put in before you have to do your triplet. We can't modify the triplet because we want to trill more. So the triplet is primary, and then the trill is secondary. Watch your accidentals. I see in measure 38, you've got some C sharps. In measure 31, there's a D flat. You've got some E flats as well. So we want to make for sure we're watching those. B natural in measure 7. Overall, the piece stays pretty close to F major. You've got a C, F, F as your opening phrase. And it does do some tonicization of different keys as we go throughout. From measures 17 all the way down to measure 32, we can kind of view this piece in the key of B flat major. And it'll sound just a little bit different. It sounds a little bit different than our key of F, or concert E flat. So, as a performer, I want to be very familiar with those scales and those keys. I would do my scale going up and down in both B flat and in the key of F. I would do my scale in thirds as well, so I'm very acquainted with how thirds work. And we're going to talk about some other techniques to hone in the skills for this piece. I hope this little overview helped you conceptualize the bigger picture with the piece, and I hope you enjoy the performance that I give you for this piece and all the lecture and resource material I'm providing. Thanks for watching and happy practicing.